coming soon on Videocassette.
You played the game. Now watch the movie. In a universe that breeds evil and destruction, E.G. and his ragtag group of fighters must battle together to destroy the evil Chaos, the twisted holder of the sacred arm. Are our heroes up to the challenge? Find out at the low, low price of just $19.95.
And now for our feature presentation.
Being nostalgic is such a strange feeling when you think about it. It could be a conversation between you and an old friend, talking about that time that your mate Dave threw up during your Year 7 geography class. Or maybe you're thinking back to a memory about asking your dad to buy you tickets to a musical group that you thought were really cool because you were 14. And even though that your dad said that he didn't want to because he knew that you'd regret it later on in life, because the music they produce is absolute cringy dog, he bought the tickets for you anyway. But then you go to the gig with that lurking thought in your head, but you suppress it because you want to prove him wrong. But then you think back to it 8 years later and realise that every single word that came out of his mouth that night was right. And if you had the technology, you'd go back and snatch the 3rd generation iPod out of your hand and shout, "No, your music taste is fucking shit, and it's gonna be shit for the next 3 to 4 years." Oh. The aspect ratio changed? But I think the most frustrating thing about nostalgia is trying to explain your nostalgia to someone who has never experienced what you've went through. This issue has become less and less problematic throughout the years, as we now have an online database of literally anything you can think of in the palm of your hands. But that begs the question, what if we can't back up our claims? What if there's this one TV show you vividly remember watching as a kid, and there's this one hilarious part you've been dying to show your friends for ages? You've searched through YouTube, you've searched through Google, I mean bloody hell, you've even tried binging it, but nothing. Nout. What happens then? Well, nothing. Your friends change the conversation and they go on about their day. But you just can't let it go. You're not crazy. You didn't just imagine it. You know it exists. So you keep searching and you keep scrolling, and eventually you find this. The Lost Media Wiki, a place to log all the games, cartoons, movies and pieces of media that the rest of the world has forgotten about. This is either your saving grace, or it's the firefighter that tells you that little Sparky's been hit by a car. And this is where my story begins, with a little fella called Twinkle. Twinkle the Dream Being is a short-lived 1992 animated series about a space genie called Twinkle. The show was a joint effort between Zodiac Entertainment, Say Young Productions and NBC Productions, which ended after 1 year with a total of 26 episodes. But upon inspection, only 2 episodes have resurfaced with a full English dub. One looks like Dog, which in all fairness is better than nothing, and the other example is just a fragment of an episode. But what led to this? Well, from what I could find, there was no set in stone explanation for it. One reason could be that there was no English home video releases since the show had ceased back in 1993. On top of this, 2 of the production companies have long since defunct, with Twinkle being the last project produced by Zodiac Entertainment. So with all those factors coming into play, Twinkle was kind of just a lost odyssey, a fragment of our childhood that would unfortunately have to stay a memory. Well, that's what I thought. But then, I delved a bit deeper. You see, something I forgot to mention before was that Twinkle is an American and South Korean production, which was common practice at the time with shows like Captain Planet, Captain M, and the
Super Mario Brothers Super Show
being a few of the many that followed similar productions. However, Twinkle wasn't just your bog standard Saturday morning cartoon. It was actually something a bit more corporate. In 1993, an expo was held by the South Korean government under the name Daejeon Expo 1993. Due to the fact that it was situated in the South Korean city of Daejeon, it was an expo, and it took place in 1993.
My fellow Americans.
The expo is basically a huge celebration of technology and spectacle-filled advancements, with its theme being described as the challenge of a new road of development. This place has everything: a monorail, a Universal Studios like 4D IMAX experience, a transformer, topping that all off with possibly the most sensual theme song to a South Korean tech expo that I've ever heard. Other than possibly the self-deprecating robot, there wasn't really much here for the kids. And as Vampire Weekend famously said, the kids don't stand a chance. To combat this, a theme park inspired area was implemented, featuring a variety of newly advanced roller coasters and traditional funfair activities. The park was named Kumdoriland after the expo's titular mascot, Kumdori, or as we know him, Twinkle the Star Being. Hang on a minute. Twinkle aired in 1992, but the expo wasn't until a year later. What's the deal with that? The show was commissioned with the sole purpose of establishing Kumdori as a brand within the South Korean public. The show ran from December 1992 up until June 1993, 2 months before the expo opened its doors. It's kinda similar to how the Olympics released the designs of their mascots a year or 2 earlier before the event takes place. That's so kids can cry and scream and bite until the parents buy that teddy of the ugly mascot with the weird big toes. Either way, after the expo had come to a close, so did Kumdoriland, but not for long, as the park reopened in 1994 in conjunction with the opening of Expo Science Park. The park had become a permanent landmark within Daejeon, with events and coasters being updated regularly, alongside a series of films being shot on the park's premises. However though, after ticket sales had started to dwindle, and with no sign of a Kumdori revival in the works, Kumdoriland shut its doors in June of 2012, which was commemorated with a Christopher Nolan-esque superhero tribute to the Kumdori heroes.
우리 꿈돌이가 지구에 온 진짜 목적. 이제 시작이니까.
Which then leads us to present day. After a couple years hiatus, we kind of sort of got a return of Kumdori with the release of Wannabe Ryan, a weird kind of survival, reality but not really TV show that pits multiple old school Korean mascots against each other to become the next Ryan, the mascot of Kakao TV. I would honestly love to watch through it all, but I could only find small segments on YouTube, and when I did eventually find a stream of a few episodes, it was all in Korean with no English subtitles. I know it's to be expected, but it's just a bit of a bummer. But to be fair, I don't think the subtitles would help much with the context.
You're a little nasty.
But enough about Kumdori and more about Twinkle, but more specifically about the title of the video and what I might be potentially holding on to. You see, when I was just a wee version of myself, I was kind of just obsessed with 90s television. I was only alive for 2 years of it, but somehow I felt this weird sense of nostalgia for a time I really couldn't appreciate. But luckily enough, I had an older brother, and we were both lucky enough to have a dad with a VHS and a bunch of blank tapes. So, every night, for the first 11 to 12 years of my life, I would stay up and watch the same few episodes of the Power Rangers, The Tick, and a bunch of other shows that have been lost through time, but they're videos for another day. So after discovering that most of the episodes of Twinkle were lost through the sands of time, I took it upon myself to dig through my old tapes and add a missing piece to the puzzle. It's only one episode, and even then, it's only a small segment of the episode, but that's no fault of mine. That's due to the broadcaster, CITV, playing each 30-minute episode in 3 parts.
Thanks, Phil. Now...
Sorry.
Thanks for that, Phil.
Anyway, please enjoy Twinkle the Dream Being in Pets Are Pals, Part 3.
Faster, you feeble-minded fowl!
The episode follows Miss Diva Weed, a strong and wicked witch, alongside her Buzzard. Buzzard. As of recently, Buzzard has been feeling upset due to his mistreatment by Miss Weed, which is only elevated when he falls ill and is forced to sleep outside in the blistering cold. Due to his multiple cries for help, he is visited by Twinkle, who treats him to a day of absolute luxury, starting off with a trip to the vet.
You need some vitamins and plenty of rest.
Spinning stars. Because you care for critters, Buzzard will soon
Good
be...
thing that people have it.
It's a word!
Those who are entitled to it. How would I expect you to...
Yeah, so this isn't supposed to happen. I'd like to credit my mum for this, so let's all give Sharon a clap for that one. Let's all thank Sharon for that one. Thanks, Sharon. Let's thank Sharon. After realising that Buzzard is missing, Miss Weed realises that she's made a huge mistake and sets out to find him. But to be fair, it doesn't seem like he's too fussed.
Wow! Baba boom! Yippee!
After she finally catches up with him, she apologises and promises to take care of him in the way that she should have the whole time, by taking him out back and shooting him. Either way, happy ending, the kettle eats all the food, they laugh, credits roll, and scene. And that's all we're going to get when it comes to Twinkle. I always find it just so bizarre when Asian IPs just don't catch on when they're translated over to the West. Shows like Shin-Chan and Doraemon, such iconic characters that just never found a market when they were pitted against characters such as SpongeBob and Fat Dog Mendoza.
That dog.
But I kinda understand with Twinkle. He was created for a purpose that most Western audiences weren't aware of. But if you were a fan of Twinkle back in the day, I hope I was able to give you a little blast from the past. I'll be posting the link to the full segment down below, and if you have any episodes on hand or maybe even stored away, I hope this inspires you to maybe dig them out and relive some memories. But why did it take you so long to explain that you had a 7-minute segment from a cartoon nobody cares about? Well, that's an interesting point, to be honest, and the reason for that is as well, because...
Dreams come true.